proposal to get the MSP. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Well,
sure. My team is there, so I'm pretty much up to date on what's going on there. So the implementation process, if you will, somewhat started around. I would say while I was still there, they were flirting with the idea of going back to MSP. The real trigger came around, I think, 2011 when, because we were inundated with a lot of regulatory things, the bank was losing a lot of money in terms of working on that side. So they said, let's go to a common denominator platform, which is what everybody, like Wells is using, stuff like that. That's how it kind of came about. And then we had there's a head that came from Morgan Stanley, Saxon, Tony Biola, and he was kind of, pushing it, as well. And then the other thing was, we had 16.8 million loans in the portfolio. That was one of the main challenges with MSP because the way they are architected and, old technology, etc., they could not handle that load because they were barely able to handle the Bank of America 4 million loans. And so what happened is we said, okay, if we have to move that way, then there's this limitation. And then the bank said, well, we're going to be selling a lot of our loans, which they did. Because they are at, around the 4 million, back to the 4 million loans now in the platform. So that's when, they did that. So it started, then it took steam, it kind of died because it is a very laborious, it is going to be a very laborious implementation specifically for the Bank of America. The reason I know that is because when we did the assessment of MSP versus the Countrywide platform, there was approximately a 40% gap in functionality offered by MSP at that time. And then in order for them to move to MSP, especially the 8.9 million loans that was coming from Countrywide side of the house, they would have to close that 40% gap. If they do not close that gap, the problem with that would be then the Countrywide customers would lose a lot of their functionality. So, for example, they were able to make their mortgage payments in 4 different payment plans and things like that.
I'm very sorry to interrupt you here, but I mean, they've already implemented MSP for more than a year now, right? So.
Who, Bank of America? No, they haven't.
Well, as far as we know, Bank of America was won by Black Knight in 2016. So.
But what you're saying is that all the loans are not on the platform yet. Maybe we can just go through like how you look at this so that we understand both. Our simple analysis of this is, Black Knight said they won the deal. Then they were starting implementing it in 2016. Then it was supposed to be done, and they were going to start receive revenues because the implementation was supposed to be done here in 2017. Now they said it's going to be delayed until sort of late 18, early 19, even as what they can see now, and that's sort of what we understand. And it would be great to get your sort of expert opinion on how you look at this and what the implementation issues really are. Like, are they, like you said, okay, like there's a performance gap. Maybe go into, in layman terms, what does that mean? Can it really be improved ever? Yeah, or how do MSP usually improve them? Do they always end up having performance gaps? And then they sort of solve them, but this is more complicated, or it's just a bigger loan stock, and therefore it takes longer. Yeah, give us a little bit of like a color on these things, and sort of, but we are not experts, so we need to sort of get it a little bit in layman terms.
No, I follow. So here's the deal.